start the recording, and that is set up. So thank you guys for coming on the call tonight. My name is Keisha, and I'm one of the hosts for tonight. Just want to welcome you to the call tonight. We're covering You Asked, We Answer, and what we are really doing, all of this content was built from a question we put in our online share Facebook group back in January or February, and we just asked for questions of what was plaguing people in online social media and marketing shares for local Relay for Life events. And that's where all of the content from tonight came from, was us just answering those questions. So we will get started. My name is Keisha McKinney, and these are your two hosts for tonight. I live in Arkansas, but relay in Oklahoma, just based on where we are in the state. I am the volunteer communications lead for the South region, but then I also work in that volunteer role. I coordinate our social media calendar for volunteers for our volunteers across the nation. And so I'm super excited to co-host tonight with Kendra. We were laughing and planning last week just that we really haven't met through this platform. And yet we follow each other on Facebook, and I feel like I know her and I know her passions related to Relay simply because of what social media can do to just build these connections. So Kendra, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, Keisha, I feel like we're new best friends. My name is Kendra. I am actually in Silicon Valley, just south of San Francisco. I am a Relay event mentor for officially 3 events, unofficially about 17. And I am the social media lead volunteer for the Silicon Valley Central Coast. So I not only support our 15 relays, but also our Making Strides, as well as other fundraising and our Courageous Kids program. And back to you, Keisha.
Yeah, sweet. So it's kind of interesting, you know, Kendra lives in the backyard of Google. I live in the backyard of Walmart, yet everything that is like roadside America about either one of our regions is true. We would both tell you that. And I think we would both tell you that even though we have like super corporate people that we work with, we also both work with relays. And I mean, my relay specifically is, you know, rural Americans who are, you know, doing what they can to fight cancer, just like you guys. And so that's really our angle tonight. That's really our hope and goal as we tackle some of these, is just to make sure that you guys are equipped, because relayers really look the same across the nation, and as we're learning more and more across the world, and what drives us. And we both passionately believe that social media really is, even though it's technology, it's absolutely a place where we can attack cancer. It's a different angle. And so that's our goal as we go through this, is to equip you guys with some of those tools to keep attacking cancer. Just a couple housekeeping things that are always important at the beginning of this type thing. Everyone is muted on entry. That's just to help with background noise and echoing and all of that. But as we go through this, especially at the end when we're doing some questions, we want to hear from you. So, you know, unmute yourself, or if we're not explaining something and you need to clarify that, let us know. We will be using the chat box heavily. We have some links called out, and as we talk about them, we're going to try to share those with you and make sure you have them there. But as we're going through this, if a new question comes to mind, put it out there, and let's try to clarify some things that may come up. Hang around towards the end. We will just kind of dig deeper into some of these things that we need to, as needed. The recording will be sent out to those who want it. So if you would like the recording and some resources, handouts and such that we have, you can put your email address in the chat box, or you can send it to one of us directly, Keisha or Kendra, the hosts for tonight. And that we'll send an email probably tomorrow to those with the recording, as well as the links, or as well as the documents that are follow-up. They'll also all be stored on Relay Connect, so you can access it there, and that gets shared as well. I mentioned it earlier, but just so you guys know, there will be, we're planning to take this whole big recording and break it up into probably 4 chunks. So if you hear me say some things that seem redundant, I'm throwing in some extra introductions there to keep it rolling as we break that up throughout the call. So Our agenda tonight is, and really our goal, if you will, I didn't put the full agenda. We want to answer the questions that, again, these were all provided by online shares in the Facebook group. We want to respond to questions as they come up in the chat. We have a couple live demos just to show you a couple things. And again, we assume that the live demo mode is really where we may live in some of that question space at the end. And also remind you guys about some really great resources we have, both from the American Cancer Society and then just free online tools that we can be using. And I think in general, just to set up a couple parameters that might be helpful as we think about social media, the goal always is what adds value. One of the questions that came up earlier this semester in a training was just, well, how do I know if I should do it or not? Well, the question is, does it add value to your audience? Yes. If it doesn't, and you're wondering if it feels awkward, then probably no is your answer. So continue to add value. That's really the goal of social media and your why. Second, I would say give them what they want. And by them, I mean your audience, which is most likely your local community. Give them what they want, and they're going to keep coming back for more. And then know that their approach is a what's in it for me mindset. So if you're not giving them what they want, then they're gonna scroll past you. They or all of us, I'll say, on social media are looking for that, what's in it for me angle that just keeps us coming back. And they don't really care as much what you want for them. And so the way you give that to them is by telling them really great stories. And you're going to hear us talk about story. You've heard us talk about story a lot this semester in training. It is what drives mission, and it's the power behind the messages that we're trying to share with everybody. So we're going to get started, and Kendra's going to share with us about brand.
Great. So a lot of us, we see Relay as a community fundraising event, but it's also a brand. We talk about Relay for Life as a brand throughout this training, and I want to make sure you know about the resources that American Cancer Society has on the brand toolkit. So I'm going to include those just right now so that you have those, because we'll be referring back to them. But a brand is your identity. It's your logo, your colors, your font, but really it's the way you tell the story of who you are. It's your brand. In our case, it's Relay. Think for a second about the golden arches of McDonald's or the bullseye of the Target logo. Right away, you can picture them in your mind. Not only do you know what they look like, but you also know that feeling you get as well. That's the brand. Not only the imagery, but also the feeling that's brought up by that imagery. The Relay for Life brand is our brand. We want to make sure that it's consistent, that we honor our brand, and that we follow the guidelines so that when people see it, they get the right feeling and they see it correctly, and they don't go, oh, that looks weird. They go, oh, that's Relay. I love Relay. And they get that warm, squishy feeling. I know we're all volunteers. We're not the marketing department, but that doesn't mean that we can't follow some of the basic branding guidelines and honor what Relay is and keep the brand strong. So on this page, I want you to first notice the S in Relay for Life. The F is capitalized. The F should always be capitalized in Relay for Life. You also want to notice in the logo, the colors. They're the official purple Relay for Life color, the first official red and blue American Cancer Society. You'll also notice that the scaling is perfect. It's not squished. There's also no backdrop. There used to be a backdrop shadow for the old logo, and the original logo actually had the full circle with Relay for Life in the middle and no ACS logo. We want the logo that's on the screen is our official logo, and that's the one that we want to use and be consistent with. This logo was pulled directly from the brand toolkit. There's 3 logos total. This is the official one, but there's also one in black and white and one in full white as well. So beyond the logo, There's also other things we want to follow. Colors. There's lots of red, there's lots of blues, there's lots of purples. But bottom line, there's only one Relay for Life purple, and you can really tell the difference. So right here you can see the different colors, the Relay purple color, the Relay red, the Relay blue. If you don't know what that means, that, you know, for the purple, the 80, the 7, the 120, I'm going to go ahead and take you to a Word document and show you what that means and how we can make that change. So hold on just a moment as we change screens to a fundraiser. This is actually a Menlo Park fundraiser that's coming up. They just started creating this document and haven't finished. They do have it in the correct font, which is Source Sans Pro, which is super exciting. And they have some in the correct colors, but they don't have all. You can notice in the middle, this purple is not the same purple as there. It is a different purple. So we want to go ahead and change that. So you can just go ahead and highlight it. Go to Home here, and we can go ahead, and I do have it saved, but I'm going to go ahead and click More Colors so you can see how to manually put it. So again, the color for purple was 80, 7, and 120. And so now it's the correct Relay purple. Super exciting. And you can do the same thing in Canva as well. Keisha, if you want to take it back to our slideshow, that would be great. Also, when you're posting, you also want to use the handles. Handles on social media are super important and super exciting. For example, when you're posting on Facebook, you don't want to just type American Cancer Society Fights Cancer. You want to type @American Cancer Society so it pulls it up. And you can see the handles for Twitter and Instagram we have posted right now. For Facebook, we'll be posting those in the chat box. But for example, like I said, it's @American Cancer Society. You want to go ahead and make sure to correctly use that handle, because that is tagging them. That lets the viewer see that the American Cancer Society or Relay for Life also has a Facebook page that they can follow and learn more information. It also lets them see, so by them I mean the American Cancer Society or Relay for Life, see the general content that we are posting about them. We'll talk more about that later. You'll also want to use hashtags. Hashtags work like handles, but a little bit differently. They aren't specifically for one person, one organization, or one event, like the handles, like @American Cancer Society, but they are for other things. Like the official Relay for Life hashtag is why I relay, and Relay for Life with the hashtag before it. So it's the pound symbol or the hashtag why I relay, or hashtag or pound symbol Relay for Life. You can actually track hashtags on Instagram and Twitter. You can't on Facebook, but you can still see them and post them on Facebook. It's a great way to find more user-generated content, which again, we'll cover later. We encourage you to create your own hashtag for your local event. It can be something for your event that you use year-round, over and over, year after year, or it can be something just for the season. It can have this year's year, it can have the theme, whatever works for your event. However, before you get started, you want to make sure you research. You want to double check that no one else is already using this hashtag and that it is appropriately being used. That has been a problem in the past. And any questions about that before we go on to Keisha talking about some sizes?
All right. You had a great point. Right when you were saying it, there was about doing the research to make sure that they're not licensed, that other people could be using it inappropriately. And so that's definitely something. Hey, since the question came up, Kendra, and we're here, why don't we just real quick show somebody how to change the colors in Canva? Would you mind taking back over
Sure.
and doing that real quick?
Not a problem. Let's go to Canva. Hold on just a sec. Let me try to go to Canva now. Okay, so I am in Canva. So in Canva, I'm going to go ahead and change this to I'm going to change it to a different color, not a white, and not a purple because we'll lose it. So we're going to go ahead and highlight it. We're going to click the A for text color. And then what we're going to do, is we're going to put in the other color code. So 0033A0, and this is going to show up as a blue apparently. There we go. And so that's the official Relay for Life blue color, or the American Cancer Society blue color. Now let's say we don't want that. Let's see if I can, well, keeps a pretty sky, and we want it purple. You can go ahead and put in the purple, which is 500778. And that's the official Relay for Life purple. And those can be found. If you want to take back over real fast, I can go ahead and see if I can pull that up.
Yeah, we listed just on this screen RGB codes, but you shared that link earlier to the brand toolkit, yep. And it has the hex codes, which are what those numbers are that you were just putting in.
Yep, and I have it open on my screen if you want me to go back, Keisha.
Okay, yeah. Take it back over.
So this is what I downloaded from the brand toolkit. So here's the primary purple, and so that was the color, that was the hex code that I entered. That got me that purple. Great. Perfect.
All right, that's perfect. Yeah, you guys, I'm glad you asked. That was we had that on our list to do later, but it felt really perfect to do now. So Tina, thank you for asking that question. And that document that she just had up on her screen is one of the links that we shared for you guys to download. And you know, Kendra is active in this role right now as a social media chair. I have been in that role, and she self-admittedly the other day says, well, I have about 5 copies of this up. And so when you're in this role, that document right there is a great thing. You don't have to have it in color, print it off in black and white. But she has a copy at work. She has a copy in her planner. She has a copy at home by her computer. It's just good to reference depending on which, you know, program or whatever you're in to use. So you guys keep those handy, and it just helps keep us on brand for the big picture things. So the next slide I have here is just a big it's a big chart, and my friend Carol, who's on with us tonight, I have to give her credit for this. It's a lot, and it'll be in some follow-up documents that we do, but the main thing that we wanted to just tackle here is to remember that really one size does not necessarily fit all. And I say that, and at the same time say, I'll give you not necessarily an exception, but a way to help you a little bit with that. So one size does not necessarily fit all, and that way it's just super helpful for knowing what platform you're in. And when I say platform, I'm meaning Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or Pinterest or video, whatever your platform you're working in, to just know what's going to look native to the platform, what other people viewing it are going to come to expect. And it just helps you you know, just know what to see there and how others are going to interact with it. The same is true for video. You know, we want to do more and more video. It's what people are interacting with, but again, one size video does not necessarily fit all platforms. And so, if you're doing something in stories and you save it, or you're doing something in your feed and want to put it in stories, they're oriented differently. So it's always just good to have in mind when you're shooting a video or making a video where you're planning to use it, and then how, what you need to build accordingly to do that. And there's lots of tools to help you do that. We're going to talk a little bit about some of those in a training we're doing next Monday, practical guide for social media managers. But again, a follow-up document, it will come with some of this. And I'll just be honest, this changes. I think one of the best ways to handle this is, if you're not sure and you've not stayed on it, just Google 2019 social media image sizes, or whatever the year is. And that way, if you've come away from something and you're not exactly sure, then that will give it to you. Another thing, since we just talked about Canva, that's one of the great things about that tool, is because you can just say Instagram image or Facebook cover image or whatever, and they already have their programmed in there to, to just have that already done for you, and you don't have to remember it and keep those straight. So this, you can take a picture of it. Again, it'll be in a follow-up document that I'm sending, but these are kind of the standard images right now of sizes that are out there. Profile picture right now, really the best way from a marketing standpoint to think about it is that should always, really your profile picture when it comes to a brand or a business doesn't change. So oftentimes it's your logo. For you guys at a local relay event, you may have your theme for the year or something like that. And then your cover photo is something that tells the story of your brand. So it might be a wide shot of luminarias, or Survivor dinner, or Survivor lineup, and something that kind of tells your local story. Now, you can get stock images from Brand Toolkit, but it's always fun, as much as you can, to personalize your local event page to your local event. And the same is true for Instagram and Twitter, so that people, when they go, they can see the same image and they would recognize that as a small piece of your brand story. Trying to think, just a couple things to share with you. I will say a square image, and that is really probably the 1080 by 1080, but a square image will work in most places versus a rectangle image that you might see listed there for the Facebook feed. So a square image is always what Instagram is going to be. There is a feature where you can shrink it and you can use a rectangle image. It's just a manual step you have to remember to do. So if you're kind of adding that in the mix, then I would suggest sticking to the square image. Facebook always picks up a square image and uses it appropriately. Twitter will as well. Their feed is a little bit different, so they usually go to the center of the image. So you may just keep that in mind if you're going to use the way it automatically crops. It will just pull out whatever's in the middle of that image in the short feed before somebody clicks on it. But again, if you're looking for a way around, you might go with the square shape orientation, and it can be used in multiple places. Or if it's a flyer or something like that, then you may want to think about which platform you're using, where Facebook might understand something that's portrait or even a wide rectangle. Instagram's just not going to read that the same way. Again, another thing in Canva is you can use the same graphic and resize it in a paid version to multiple images. So you can take a flyer and move it to an Instagram square, or vice versa. So just pay attention to the platform that you're using, and know that if that's something that's frustrating you, that's kind of why, because each platform has a native size and orientation. Even though Facebook owns Instagram, they have different rules. Again, there's a cheat sheet that Kendra just put a link to there in the chat. But again, if you get down the road, that is a 2019 version. They'll update it. That constant contact one is always a good one for me. Something I did think that might be helpful, I talked about how your Profile image should be essentially your logo or brand, whatever, something that would stay consistent for your local Relay for Life event. Your cover image is telling that story. It's a long, wide, kind of short image. But sometimes something we see people get frustrated with is how images and links and where all of that works with Facebook. So I'm going to jump out of the presentation slides for a second and actually go to Facebook and show you guys a couple little tricks that may help you if you are if you're frustrated with what the order. Sometimes there's a little bit about the order of how things show up, and that's where the image comes from. So I'm going to do a couple things. One, we're going to practice here, and hopefully I don't mess things up. Have you seen? So this is something I'm using the nationwide group. Obviously, you may not say it that same way to your local community, but when you pull an image link, so I'm going to copy this and paste it in here. Oh, it's really close to the share screen, so give me just a second. Oh. When you paste a link in here, if there is an image tied to that web page, it will automatically pull the image on that page. That may or may not be the image that you want, and so you are able to control that a little bit by clicking down here on the plus sign and adding an image of your own. So just to show you real quick, a way you could do that, you could hit the plus sign, and it would take you into your pictures. And let's say you wanted to share something different. It's going to upload that picture. And now you have two images. It's going to turn into a carousel. You can see right down here below those images that you can, it has two images selected. If I click on this first one, you notice it's not letting it go away, okay? Part of that is because that image is coming from that website, and so it is a native image to that article, and you just can't do anything about it, and that's really frustrating. So I'm going to show you a way around it, but I wanted to show you what's happening for most people, and they're going, well, I can't do anything about it. This image that is tied to the article, it just is what it is, okay? So you can, if you see the one, you see the two, and if you were to add a third image here, it essentially turns that into a carousel, and multiple images will show when this is actually posted, but I cannot take away that first image that came native to the article, and that is just something built into the feed of the way that Facebook is reading these links to do that. So again, I could put both of them on here, and what is traditional, I would just tell you, is go back up here once the link has picked up and just take the actual ugly URL out. So you have a really clean caption with the images, and the link would be here. You can see that it's linked, that they would click on when they did that. But this is frustrating to me, and so I'm like, I don't want to do it that way. So I want to get out of this. I'm just going to reload the page, and it's going to tell me I'm going to lose what I did, and I'm like, that's okay, because I'm mad at you. I'm going to quit, and I'm going to reload. And I'm going to use a different example to show you the way I would get around this. And so we had a great night at Survivor dinner. I have to spell right when everybody's watching. Can't wait to see everyone Friday. Make sure to register before you come, okay? I wanted that call to action in there. So it'd be real easy to go over here to my page, my Relay for Life event, and copy and paste this. But again, I'm gonna get this image and it's gonna frustrate me. So the way you get around it, I'm gonna put my image in here first, okay? Here's a picture from my Survivor dinner. There they are hanging out, loving life. That's the big image everyone is going to see and want to interact with. And then now I still have an action I want everyone to take. Sorry, I'm waiting for my little window to go away. Still have an action I want everyone to take. So I want to make sure I include that link for them so they don't have to guess and question It's going to be ugly. It's not necessarily the way I want it to be, but that's a way to get around the big image being controlled by you. If you load the image first, then go put your link as part of the caption, both things still happen, and this would post with the big image there first, okay? And I maybe should have done that on like my personal page where we could delete it afterwards, but I didn't, so I messed up. Let me see if I can do this. Leave this page. Let me just show you guys, because I know some people are like, wait a minute, what does that actually look like when we do it? We'll go to a page I can do that on and be okay about.
While you're doing that, I also want to share that you can actually post, just like Keisha was saying, with the multiple images in her first example, and you can switch the order. So you can put 2 or 3 images in that carousel and then have the last image be the default image.
Yeah,
it still isn't pretty. It's still not the best way to do it if you don't like that image at all, or if it's inappropriate. Sometimes, you know, they'll pull an image from something that has nothing to do with what you're talking about, depending upon where you're from, where you're pulling from. I just want to make sure you guys know that as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. And so while we're here, I'll just show you, you can actually just drag these. Is where you can do some of the order changing. And then on the other screen where we did it before, you can change those numbers just based on the order and how you click on them. Is how some of that happens. That's a really great point. So again, this is one where I've got the images I want on here. Now I've come in and pasted this article. So it's the images I controlled that I wanted have superseded what this article would pick up from this page, which would probably be this big giant cover image. And that's not what I wanted. I wanted it personalized for my fun survivors that I saw at my dinner. And here, and I'm just going to hit share now so you guys can see, and this is the page I can delete from. It's loading really quick. All right, and so now when someone would see this in the feed, they would see my post, they see my picture collage that I put, and yet they still have the link to register and sign up without having to go search that and guess. And that's just one of those big things that we want to do, is not leave people guessing. I'm going to delete that before it gets found by too many folks. And
I also want to throw in, if you decide to put in a short link,
yeah,
just be aware of some of the Google short links, some of, just depending upon where you're getting your short links, sometimes they have a shelf life of a day, 24 hours, 6 weeks. So someone might want to go back and find that link and it no longer is active. So just be aware of that. That's a pro and con to using short links, especially if you're using a free short link software.
That's a really great point. I'm very glad you shared that with us. And it's, again, sometimes we want pretty and sometimes we want functional. And I would say, you know, getting people to sign up for your event is one of those functional places. So that's where we were headed with there. Any quick questions? We've had some great stuff going on in the chat box. I hope you guys are reading that. Darcy shared some really good thoughts about videos and linking, and you know, always, I would just challenge you, always add the link. Don't make the person do the work, because some of our events are named by our counties versus our cities. All kinds of things that we ask people to go and do, and to expect that they're going to remember or think about it. Take all of that work out of them and the excuses and just put it right in front of them, and make it super easy for them to do. So any questions while we're right here? All right, well, just as a reminder, we are doing the You Asked, We Answer social media training for Relay for Life volunteers, and we're going to jump into our next section, which is focused on optimizing images and user-generated content.
So we just talked about the image sizes. Now we're going to talk more about what the image is. Images on social media get the most engagement, but you want to optimize each image and get the most engagement possible for every post. You want to make sure to tag the images. It shows not only on your page, but it shows on their page, which is super important, not only if you're tagging a person, because then all their friends are going to see it, but also if you're tagging a sponsor, then it's going to show up on their page. They're going to see that. They're going to see more value for their donation, and everybody who's following them is going to see that they're helping the community, which is a big part of why they're actually being a sponsor. You want to make sure to use high quality photos whenever possible. If you're the main person taking pictures, learn how to take better pictures, whether that's on your camera phone, whether that's an actual camera, whatever it is, learn how to use your camera to the best of your ability. And don't feel bad about it in a meeting or at an event. You know, it's okay to sit in the back and do video or take pictures, but it's also okay to get up close, you know, kneel down and get that good shot. Because remember, you're reaching out not only to those people who are right there with you, but to the greater community. Make the photo engaging. Think about what story you want to tell. What do you want to highlight? Is it you want to highlight the sponsor, a team, a community member? Maybe you want to highlight that, you know, Relay's a kid-friendly event because your community doesn't know that. Or maybe you want to highlight that it's multicultural because you've noticed that mostly you're getting all one nationality and you want to reach out to a different group. So think about what stories you want to tell in your pictures. And as much as possible, use local photos. Stock images that are on the brand toolkit are fabulous, but they're not telling your story. We want to tell your story. Your social media is like a yearbook or a newspaper. People get excited seeing people they know, especially if it's their own family or themselves. They'll tag themselves. As much as possible, you want to use local images of your events, your participants, and your community. I also recommend seeing if you can get a professional photographer to come to your event and donate their time and their pictures. You can also see if you can ask people to give you their images. You can host a contest where who can get a picture of a survivor the fastest and tag you. You also want to make sure anytime people are posting that they're tagging you so that you have access to that content as well. Keisha, if you want to go to the next one. And it's back to Keisha.
All right. Some tools that you can use to create some of these images, because that's also sometimes the things that help with that. I love the things that Kendra just shared with you about not being afraid to get up and get where you need to take that photo. Always thinking about the story you're trying to tell, because visually that's so much of what our images do. And so sometimes you just need a great picture, but sometimes you want to add a word to it, a reminder, or you're creating a graphic that is not necessarily a picture, but maybe is an invitation or something like that. These are some of the tools that we have used ourselves. We've heard from other people that can be used. Brand Toolkit. You've heard us say it. If you do not know what Brand Toolkit is, it is really a resource, hub, center, whatever you want to call it, from the American Cancer Society. Our marketing graphics team creates templates and tools for us as volunteers to be able to download and use. So even some of the slides we're using tonight are all downloaded from the 2019 Relay for Life slide template. And it's great that they really take into consideration widescreens and all that different stuff. Relay Connect, which is connect.relayforlife.org if you're not using it, also is another place, less monitored and run, directly uploaded from American Cancer Society. They are involved, but also volunteers will upload their resources and tools there. So just great things that you can download and have access to. Canva is the tool we went into a few minutes ago. It is a free online, basically graphic design tool that you can use. There is paid versions that have extra things, but it has graphics. You can control fonts and font colors. PicMonkey is very similar. Some of it is just preference of tool and what you like to use. Both are online, both are free. Lightroom and Adobe Spark have, Adobe is part of the bigger Adobe program of design programs. Again, free versions, paid versions that you can get involved with. And I think Darcy, if you guys want to scroll back, she shared some other tools that she's been using. GIMP, it looks like GIMP.org is something that she's been using for resizing. So, and then Google Draw. So two new great resources I hadn't heard about. Sometimes something that's really easy to do. Now I will say Canva, I know for sure has a app version that you can put on a smartphone. Some of these others probably do as well. WordSwag is an app that you can take a photo that's just been taken with your phone. You can throw a quote or some graphic, words, whatever you want to on top of it, and turn around and use it to share on your social platforms. So it's something that can be done kind of on the spot in your phone. Snapseed and Vosco are both photo editing apps that are on your phone. Again, if you need a, sunset is great, but sometimes sunset is killing the mood when you're trying to get a picture of some great faces that are doing something great at Relay. And so either using the editing that's already built into your camera roll, or these tools can help. Video is something we for sure want to do. Animoto and TikTok are two that volunteers have shared with us that they've been using, whether to make video slideshows, kind of like in the moment, or to actually edit a video that they use at a dinner or an event follow up. So if you guys have other things that you use or you've heard people mention and you don't know what's coming, or you just heard, put those in the chat. That's how we find out a lot about these. Darcy's sharing another one. PDF Candy is something if you're trying to change up a PDF. That's sometimes hard to do with forms and things that we need to do. The biggest thing here, and you see it at the bottom, is we cannot steal from Google Images. It's so easy to just go Google something you like, right click and save it, and then go use it on your platform. And frankly, that is illegal because images are covered by copyright. And so if you are following another page, another Relay event, and you see that they create an image that is not event specific and could be something that you use, just shoot a quick direct message, whatever form of communication is in the platform that you're using, and just ask if you can use their image. Relayers love to support each other, and you're most often going to get a yes. But there's just nothing more frustrating than seeing your graphics that you have created stolen and used on another account without your permission. And even greater than that, it can just put you in a bit of a bind, especially if it's something not tied to another relayer. But just don't go steal from Google Images, really anything. And that's true of graphics we need for sponsors or teams. They have a marketing department that'll get you those images if you need them. Maybe work with your sponsor chair or your team captain chair from the beginning if you have a plan to do something on social with those, and you can really get those from the beginning instead of scrambling the week of Relay if you need to do something for a fundraiser or something like that. But we just cannot, we just can't steal. And so that's the big thing there for us. Again, got some great ideas coming in, but taking your own pictures, telling your local story is the best thing and biggest thing we want you to hear us say. Tell that story in a great way with your own people.
And Darcy just shared that she uses Pixabay, Pixabay.com for source graphics. I have not heard of that one, but I definitely will check that out. Like we were talking about, we want to look at user content as well. We've briefly discussed it in the past tonight about using generated content that our users have posted. So that's, for example, when we were posting and we tagged the American Cancer Society, we were the user. When other users are tagging and posting us, then we would be looking at them as the user. It's our community members sharing what they're doing. It's a great way to communicate with them. You can ask questions on your account and have them post on their account and tag and hashtag so that you can see it.
All right, here's some examples. I did do some DMing for the record with some of this because I couldn't just tell you something and not follow my own rules. But a couple of these are relay, and then a couple are some national things that you might have seen. But just some people who've done a good job of just sharing what does this really mean? And the ultimate goal with user-generated content is, again, you're moving away from stock and you're getting real images from real people that are helping you tell your story. So when you have that local event hashtag, you're getting to, pull it through. So Gerber did their photo where they're seeking their new Gerber kid. This is the little guy that was in there last year. They just have a new one that came in, but he helped them run their campaign to get a new Gerber kid, and their selection was solely made based on entries through Instagram using a hashtag. Similar process happened for the Lay's potato chips, how you choose the new flavor contest that they do every year with like the weirdest stuff. But then we all go buy that bag of chips and want to taste what, sausage gravy biscuits taste like in a chip form. Starbucks, each year it's kind of now a thing with their red cups. They did a huge campaign last year with people drawing and posting those pictures. And again, you're basically having people use their platform to tell your story. A couple relay things we saw happen this past year. Tacoma has done a really big thing actually this year, 2019. A lot of us have had the Flat Stanley concept that our kids have done where they ship a little guy all over and your friends and family take pictures. And so they did something similar where people could go in, download a little flat Gordy and flat Pat, and then they've taken them all over, and it's been a really fun thing to watch where all that people have taken these two. And then the bottom one is taken from a Paint Your Town Purple event, and again the committee. What they did is they challenged those local events, those local teams, decorate their whatever at their business purple, post the picture, and then they shared them on their platform throughout. And so it kind of gave both the, hey, thanks for participating. Those businesses got to get their name out there. And it was just a really fun way to see that kind of, how does this play out in relay world? Back to you, Kendra.
So user-generated content is other people posting and letting you know. And then you can take that content and share it out as well. Again, like Keisha said, you always want to double check, but remember they've already tagged you. They're already excited and they already want to share what they're doing with you. There's a few different ways you can get this content. The easiest is to ask for it. Ask what their favorite part of relay is. Ask them to post a picture from last year or what their favorite song is. It's a great way to get that information, and they're sharing it directly with you. Ask them to tag, just like Keisha said with the Paint Your Town Purple. Just last weekend I saw Salinas did that competition, and they had over 50 different tags in one day from 50 different people. So it's a great way for different people to tag. You get to see it all, and then they get to share it. It also, the more that you're tagged, the higher your algorithm, because not only are people seeing you on what you post, but they're also seeing you on what other people are posting. And every time your tag gets posted, someone sees you or it gets liked, it adds to your algorithm and it makes you more viewable. So it's super exciting and it definitely pays off quickly. And then when you see something great, ask them to share. Make sure that you can share it. Make sure that you can do it. And when you do share, you can either share directly from their page, or you can actually retype it and put it in. I recommend as much as possible resharing from their page and tagging them just because it's faster and easier. Now, when you do that from a personal account, sometimes that's not going to work because of their privacy settings. So you do want to be aware of that when you're posting from a personal account, that you're sharing that, because the privacy settings may come up that people can see that you're posting but cannot see what you're sharing. We also recommend interacting with the national, regional, and area accounts. They're focused on the bigger picture, the vision, the mission, and you can always share that and you can tag them. It again adds to their algorithm and yours, because if they see you posting and sharing, they're going to do the same thing back.
That's such a really great point, because some of that popularity contest happens when that sharing happens, and that algorithm word makes us all squirm, but it really is. I love your advice there. It's one of those things that the more that people that interact with both of your accounts are more likely to see it and just gets in front of more people. So it's just a really great piece of advice there. We're gonna move in. I do see that it is getting close to the top of the hour. We did mention early on that we knew we were going to go over, so if you're able to hang with us, hang with us. If not, leave your email address in the chat, and we'll make sure we get the follow-up information sent out to you. But this is just a quick reminder that we are in the You Asked, We Answer social media training for Relay for Life volunteers, and our next section is going to focus on community engagement and shareable content. So I'm going to jump in here. It's a lot, but the biggest thing is you want to mix it up. That's just really, when it comes to content, that's what keeps people engaged with you and keeps them coming back. If you didn't attend the publicity training we had, publicity and community, we had a couple weeks ago, I definitely encourage you to go back and listen to that. Just super practical ideas we got from some volunteers of just really creative things they had done to just connect with their community. So definitely go back and listen if you haven't done that. But if you want people to interact with you, ask them questions. That's a really great way for you to get some responses. I love the thing we just talked about a minute ago of, hey, what songs do you guys want to hear at Relay? Hey, what snacks do you want to have? Well, that's great information to take back to a meeting for team captains to say, hey, if you guys are struggling with on-site fundraiser ideas, here's some things our community wants to eat and wants to have at the event. But also you need to post content that's going to compel them to want to interact with you. Think about what you want to see. Think about what makes you stop when you're scrolling through a feed. And we've already said, you're a typical relayer and your audience is typical relayers. And so what do you know is going to get engagement in your community because it's been getting engagement, that type of thing with other groups who are posting. Tag them. We keep saying that. It's easy no matter what the platform is, but if you do not follow a page that you're wanting to tag, you need to go follow it first. It will make tagging so much easier. It's a little bit easier than it used to be now, but for instance, if you have a new dental office that is a team or a sponsor and you personally, as the social media account manager, do not follow that page, go follow it first, then do your posting. It will make it much easier to tag them and find them, especially if you're doing it mobile. And I should say this right now while we're on it. If you are doing your social media posting mobile, I would challenge you, especially in Facebook, to download the Facebook Pages app and use that app when you're posting as your event page versus the regular app, because it's just easier to keep it separate and not to show up as yourself posting to that page. If you use the Pages app, you will be posting as the administrator of that account, and therefore those posts will show up in people's feed. So make sure you're using the Pages app when we're talking about Facebook. You don't have to worry about that as much when you're in Instagram or Twitter, because you are in the account as the event, and it's just different. But same thing, if you're in Instagram or Twitter and you're wanting to tag that dentist, go follow them first. So they're going to show up in the list of people as you put your @ symbol in and start typing out their handle. What that does when you tag them, again, to Kendra shared this, it shows up on both of your pages. And so people who follow you both are more likely just to begin to see that. And then I think just straight up ask people to share your posts. So when you're in a team captain meeting or you're in an ELT meeting, your event leadership team, let them know something that's coming and just say, hey, if you guys will share that, or I just went and created this event, will you go in and invite people who are friends of yours to come to that, whether that's for a fundraiser, a survivor dinner, or your actual, excuse me, Relay for Life event. If you ask these people who follow you to go in and interact with that page, it will just help you magnify what you can do as a person in your volunteer role. And periodically, maybe just ask for once a quarter a time on your meeting agenda where all of you guys could just go in and invite new people. We all add friends to Facebook all the time, it seems like. And most of the time, or often, those are people who we want connected to what we're doing with Relay for Life. And so just take a moment to go in and just periodically invite people to follow that page. And that's something that I can only do with the people who I'm friends with. And so if you're friends with different people than me, that's how we expand the influence across our community. One thing that will help as well is you can actually teach people. We now have control. One of the things Facebook has done is given us a little bit more control over what we can see and do and how we interact with pages. And so I just wanted to show you, you can actually do this, and I would challenge you to maybe do it in one of your meetings, and create screenshots or whatever, but show people, oftentimes people will say, well, I never see what you guys post or whatever. Well, part of that is they're only going to see the stuff that they interact with. That's what Facebook does for us. It gives us the gift of seeing more of the things that we want to see. So same thing for you. If you say, well, I never see what the American Cancer Society posts, let me challenge you to spend just a month daily or every other day just going directly, typing it up here in the top, going directly to the American Cancer Society and seeing what they post, interact with it, like it, comment, whatever those things are. And then those things will begin to show up in your feed because you're interacting with them. But you can come down here, and now under the picture, you're able to control how you receive notifications and what you see. So I obviously like this page. I'm an administrator of this page, but I can also go here under following and control how these things from this page show up in my news feed, and also whether I get notifications from them or not. And just to show you that the same thing, so if you're dealing with somebody who maybe doesn't like you, not personally, on Facebook. Southern Motion is one of our teams in Mississippi, in the South region. This is their Facebook page for their company, their corporation. This is who we would want to tag when we thank them for their sponsorship, or when we talk about them as a team and the things that they're doing. I don't personally follow them or even like their page yet, but I can come over here under following. And you saw what I did there. Let me unfollow it. I wasn't following it. So if I click on follow, even not liking it, I can do all this. I can click follow, and I can still control how this information shows up in my newsfeed, as well as if the notifications are on, where I always get things from them, or if I don't want any notifications, I can still see them on my newsfeed. So again, maybe in one of your meetings, that's one of those things that you just go in and do, and get people to interact with that and control it. Because again, folks are going to say, well, I just don't do this. Maybe just do a screenshot of that little drop down menu and circle the part there that shows the notifications, and just do that as a post on your local page and say, want to keep up with what's happening, update your notifications for our page, and get the latest on Relay or something like that. A paid ad could also work if you have the budget, and that's just something that you need to work out with your local event for what kind of budget you might have to be able to do some paid ads periodically. All right.
Darcy also pointed out that we can invite people to follow our page, especially if they've reacted or commented on it. It pops up and says every so often, hey, do you want to invite these people? You can do it there. You can also find it in Facebook to do it as well.
Yeah, great feedback. So it's all you. Share us, where do we find what we
There's tons of different places to find shareable content. Though we're going to focus, though you're focusing on your community, Keisha, if you want to go to the next page, and your event, not everything you're posting has to be created by you. There's a lot of different places to find shareable content. As we talked already, national, regional, and area accounts, they tell the big picture. You can share that rather than having to recreate it. The branding toolkit and Relay Connect. We've been talking about these for years. That's because they are amazing resources. And you want to check them out. There's days where I just go into branding toolkit and go, what's new? And you can learn all sorts of information and find different things to post. It's great. The Relay Communicator and Society Source emails. Every time this information comes out, you should be reading it and thinking, how can I share this information with my community? Cancer.org, obviously, as well as they actually have a calendar page that has the different cancer dates. And ask your regional leadership about other pages that you should watch and observe. Follow our senior leaders, staff, volunteers, Gary Reedy, but make sure you share them. Don't steal. So make sure if you're reposting it that you say, it was so great to hear Dr. Rich Winder say this, and tag them or share that original post. One of my favorites was, I believe, earlier this month, and we've got it up here. It's a great share. Meghan Markle delivered her wedding flowers to the local Hope Lodge. The story and pictures were shared around the country. Not only did it highlight the generosity of this amazing volunteer, but it also highlighted the Hope Lodge program. In California, we don't actually have Hope Lodges, so it lets us highlight this program and why it's important to us when we don't have it here. It's a great way to share this information, and it's fabulous pictures, as you can see.
All right, I do love that, and that's the kind of thing that's really great when it's, we always struggle. Well, it's not relay season. What do I talk about? Well, highlighting mission and finding creative ways to do it it's a really fun. That's the kind of fun stuff that happens in the quote off season, but we relay all year, so there's always a good story to tell. How to increase scholar engagement? This is a big question. It came in multiple different ways when our online chairs were asking it. Just how do we increase scholar engagement? It's really similar, I know, to some of the things we just talked about, but we wanted to cover a few specific things. Tag is a really big thing. Keeping it local. Again, that publicity session, if you didn't go to it, let me encourage you to go back and listen. Some really creative, just practical things that were shared that people just did because they asked the question and yes became the answer. It is a game. Engagement's a game. Posting and getting your stuff seen is a game. But we have to play it. You can control it again with a little money. One of the things that's come through as a suggestion is maybe working with your sponsor chair and recruiting a social media sponsor, or something that could give you a little bit quote budget where you can boost and do some ad things where appropriate. One of the nice things with that is to just let it do a little bit of organic reach and then boost when it's, when something's working with your people. But post regularly. That always helps, like having things in front of people that they can engage with often. Post content that your audience likes. And if you're wondering how you find that out, well, one, it's the stuff they always respond to. So do they always respond when you post pictures of your kids or that are involved with your event, or when you post behind the scenes pictures at your meetings or your ELT, or when you tell a survivor story, or when it's a sponsor or a community leader doing something fun, like pay attention to what they do. And it's not even that. Do they always like videos? Do they like when you post at 7 p.m. or 7 a.m. or insights as the tab inside Facebook that tells you those things. It tells you your audience. It tells you when they're active, all that kind of stuff. And if you don't have an insight tool for Instagram or Twitter, just pay attention to the things that get high engagement. And by engagement, we're talking about likes, retweets, comments, shares. Those are all the things that fall into the engagement category. Try stories. Stories is a feature that's in Facebook. It's in Instagram. It's frankly the way that a lot of people are consuming social media, especially our millennial generation and younger. And so if you're wanting to engage with them, it's called ephemeral content. And what that means is it just goes away quickly. And there's something about being able to see something that's going to go away, but also knowing you have a small amount of time to consume it. And it's short. It really does just kind of create this little buzz that makes you want to look at it first. And so try that. Maybe do some behind the scenes things, doing something leading up to relay. Give yourself a chance to play there. There's definitely a level of transparency that people like that comes with that. And usually you have to be more creative to produce that kind of content. And so think about that. Oh, what did we do here? Why did they engage with this so much? How can we do more of that in our regular feed? Another thing to do is trying videos or trying live. Make sure if you're trying live that you have the bandwidth, both personally as well as literal bandwidth of broadband or Wi-Fi or whatever to be able to run that effectively. But, you can do your meetings that way. You can do your Luminaria ceremony. You can do a drawing. There's a lot of really fun things you could do. If a team was doing something special at a fundraiser or a big announcement, you could create lots of buzz and then do that live. You can also do videos with your phone. Just some simple things like turning the phone sideways and tucking your elbows in to create stability, or just simple things you can do to go shoot a survivor video with your phone wherever they are. It doesn't have to always be professional. It is a great way, like the photographer, to pull one in if they want to do some projects for you. But get those stories when you have the people, and then you can post them any time in the year. But one of the great things you could do relay night is while survivors are hanging out or that kind of thing, see if you can grab a couple of them and do some videos, or get videos of caregivers, your team captains, why do they relay? Those are all great things while you already have people there that you can use later. Research hashtags in your areas will help you grow your audience, highlighting user-generated content, but really just engage with people. If you ask a question, be prepared to respond to the answers that you get. Leading up to relay that week, be hypersensitive to responding to questions that may come in through Messenger, questions that may come in through comments. Just respond to the things you ask questions to. Be an active person. Carol shared a great idea. Shoot, quote, man on the street videos as you work the track. So that's great. Like, people are there. They're a captive audience. You as a ELT member are probably out having conversations. So just capture people while they're there, rather than feeling like you have to go hunt them down in town later to get that done. So, okay, we have a few more things, just one more small section, and then we're going to definitely open up for some more questions or interaction. But just a couple more things that will help and respond to some questions that we got. As a reminder, we are in the You Asked, We Answer social media training for the Relay for Life volunteers. And this next section that we're going to focus in on is looking at scheduling content and a couple Facebook demonstrations to tie into some of that. So scheduling content is where we'll start, and we have a whole session actually this fall. We're going to do an editorial calendar session to kind of dig into that. And also I'll put a plug in next Monday. We're going to talk a little bit more specific with some specific things for social media account managers to help you. But Kendra and I are both nerds. We love a good calendar. And so she's going to share with us some editorial calendar tips.
So like Keisha said, we're going to go more into the calendar in fall with a whole training specifically on that. But personally, like Keisha said, I'm a super calendar nerd. I have calendars everywhere. We literally in my house have about 8 calendars. And I have one calendar specifically for social media. Personally, I wouldn't be as successful as I am at social media without scheduling. Part of it's actually scheduling on Facebook. We do have Hootsuite and Buffer that you can use for Insta and Twitter if you like. It's whatever works for you. But calendaring isn't necessarily the same as scheduling. Scheduling is actually going ahead and putting it into the system and getting it ready. Calendaring is more about when you're going to post what. It's really important because then you want to make sure not to miss any of your meetings, any fundraisers or anything like that. You want to make sure that those days, that's what's highlighted. Generally, people look at your account once or twice a day. You don't want them to look at it and see that they got all the content for the day and miss that there's a meeting tomorrow. So you want to make sure to calendar appropriately. You also want to include calendar information for cancer awareness information. I talked about that earlier. I'm going to share the post right now for cancer.org that has all of the information. They update it yearly, so you can actually pre-post all of that as well, so that you make sure to get your mission moments in about what the month is and what the theme is. But you also want to make sure not to overschedule and overplan. You want your information to be in the moment of what's going on as well. And if you do schedule, like I schedule something every day, you want to make sure that you have some stuff that is movable, either moving to a different day or to a different time. Like I said, you want to make sure you know what your priorities are at that day and that time, and that you do it appropriately, which is why you want to sit down and make your calendar. Setting up a pattern in the schedule that works and that you can maintain is what's important. Remember, you're a volunteer. You can't do everything. You can only do so much. Do what makes sense for you. And as you keep going, you can grow your team and get more contributors to keep the calendar going and to post more often as well.
Okay, so we're going to go back into that same page, and I actually do have a post that's written that we're going to schedule for tonight. And I wrote it out so we wouldn't mess it up. But this is just a post, whether you would use Excel or a calendar or whatever you did. I actually used to use Excel or sometimes a Word document and actually write it out. So when I had to create a moment, I could do that. And then when I have a scheduling time frame, I'm just in the moment to schedule. So let me pull up this page again, and I'm going to paste my caption in here. And this is something normally I'd be scheduling for later in the week, but this one's going to do, this is for tonight. So I will just go down here. And the point of this is we want to show anybody who doesn't know about the Facebook scheduler, we want to show you kind of how this works so that you can sit down and do a whole week's or most of a month's worth of posting or that kind of thing all at once, and then move around things later if you need to. But this, again, just lets you say, okay, Saturday morning with my cup of coffee, I'm going to get this done, or Sunday afternoon after my nap when I'm rested, or whatever that looks like. Then you can do a lot of this and not feel like you're having to live in Facebook or whatever all the time. I will say for scheduling, Facebook likes Facebook, just like Google likes Google. And so Hootsuite does let you, Buffer does let you schedule to Facebook as well, but it just likes it better. It gives you more points, if you will, if you schedule within the platform. But it's a similar process if you're using Hootsuite or something else if you want to go to Instagram. Now, this one doesn't have a photo with it. I'm just putting something up for tonight to let people know that we're grateful for them and what they're doing. But you could add a photo like we did earlier. In that section, you can add all of your emotions, all those different things. But the way you schedule it is you go down here to this bottom section, and I'll tell you, they do move this around a little bit. So periodically, if you get frustrated, it doesn't always just say it like this. Just look for this little circle with the 2 lines on it. That's a clock. So it's just kind of a universal sign icon for schedule. And you would either share now, and so you see the big blue button says share now, or we want to go down here and schedule it. You can even save it as a draft now, but we're going to hit schedule. Then this little window pops up to let you pick the date and time. So we're going to keep today. Right now it's 8:16, so I'm just going to go ahead and put 8:30. You can change, you can hit A if you want that to be AM. This is going to say, hey, that's already happened. So you can't do that. So I'm going to put it to PM, and then I'm going to hit schedule. And
I want to throw in real fast Darcy's comment, checking character count in Word or Google Docs before you paste it in. It's really important, especially for Twitter, that you do that. Instagram and Facebook Short is sweet as well, but you definitely want to double check that before you do Twitter.
Yeah, great point. So if you're wondering, oh my goodness, what did I just do? I have a noise in the background. You can always hover over this and it'll show you, okay, the date and the time. Okay, that's good. That's what I want. It's going to go public, and I'm going to hit schedule post. And then it's doing a refresh. And it shows me right here that I have 2 posts scheduled. The next post is for today at 8:30 p.m. And if I'm like, oh my goodness, what was I thinking? Or as we talked earlier, something comes up and you need to move and change that post. I just clicked on see post, and I can click here on it. I just clicked on the caption information there in the middle. I can go down here and I can either edit it. And if I wanted to change something, if some of the information's changed, we've changed locations or something like that, I came from a meeting. Or if I want to change the time or the date, if I'm moving around, because again, that schedule that Kendra was describing, it's kind of like a puzzle. So you have your ideal situation at first, but other things may creep up that you need to move it around. You can reschedule it and just pick a different time and say, I want this to be at 8:35 instead. I hit reschedule, and now it's still there in my list. You can see over here that it says the time and the date. So it's just a good way to get all of that in there. Again, you've got a calendar, whether you keep it paper or in a Google Drive or whatever. It's just a good way for you to check and see what's coming. And now you all know there's a post coming Thursday as well. So let's see. That is really kind of the main stuff that we had. Are there any other questions? You guys have been awesome to hang with us. Some extra things that we had tonight. You guys have been great to chat. Any other things that have come up from you guys as we've been talking?
While you guys are thinking and possibly typing, I do want to mention that on Facebook you can schedule up to 3 or 4 months. I find that personally super helpful, because I will have a day where I'm like, like, for example, this weekend I did three relays between Friday and Saturday. So I spent Sunday on my couch, and I scheduled for the next 3 months social media specifically for the cancer awareness days. That can happen anytime that month. So I just picked a date, scheduled it, and there we go.
Okay, so there's a question in here. Sometimes I want to comment as me, not as the ELT page. Can I do that when I'm an administrator? Oh, it's so tricky. There is a way, again, especially from your phone, your mobile. Kendra, if you've got the exact way to do that.
I know how to do this because I have this, and I've tried to. Our account has a lot of people on it. So let me first go to my correct account, and then I will take over
The account
the
we can
show.
That is a tricky thing. I'm glad you said that, Darcy, because it is tricky. Sometimes I'll like something and then it's like, oh, I'm liking my own post. That feels really silly. So it is tricky.
Yeah, it definitely looks weird. So let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take over.
Go for it.
So here's what I posted earlier. You can see I said, hey, everybody, come in to tonight's training. And again, like Keisha said, if I go ahead and click like, I'm liking my own post. That is a little weird. But I can go ahead and click this arrow right here. And if you look, it's actually the same, this picture here is the picture up at top. So that helps me a lot to see who I'm posting as. So I can click here, and you can see I have more than one group that I manage, but I can click myself, and now I can click like, or I can comment, and do both. And I'm posting as myself as a person and not as the actual event itself.
I just learned something new. I love it.
So Keisha, if you want to take back over, we can.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's a great question. And I myself have been trying to figure some of that out. So we all learned something new tonight. Gotta love the hidden drop down, right, Darcy? So that's fun. That's a great question.
Yeah.
Who else?
And I know it is possible to do that on the app, but I have not consistently found it because sometimes it's there and sometimes it's not. So I think it's just Facebook doing its changes that sometimes it's on the app and sometimes it's not.
Yeah, that's good. Well, and it's always like, I definitely think in these roles where we have to kind of be on at the same time that we have to be doing. It's always helpful. I know I would, when I was doing social media as a job full time, I would oftentimes just like my calendar, especially if it was an evening post and I knew I was going to be sitting at a t-ball game or at dinner with friends or something, I would just put the caption inside the body of an event on my calendar. And so then literally in the moment, I didn't have to think. I could just copy and paste the text, and I had the picture in my camera roll, or I had emailed it to myself, just something, because in those moments, you want to take away as much extra thinking that you have to do because that's just stressful. And that helps eliminate the mistakes that we oftentimes do, not because we're careless, there's just too much going on, and we've got some silly song that's trying to keep us all awake at relay playing in our head or whatever that is. And so some of those little things just help you kind of alleviate the stress. And using the Pages Manager app for me was one of those ways that I kept like my personal posting separate from my professional or my volunteer posting, and didn't mix those accounts. Or am I logged in on relay night sitting in my chair to my personal Instagram account or to my relay Instagram account? Just some of those little things that help protect us.
Yeah, one of the other things I love is Google Drive. I've moved all my images. Anytime I create an image, anytime I create content, I save it in my Google Drive. Then I can easily find it because sometimes I'll plan on being home and all of a sudden something's come up and I'm working or I'm at a different relay event, and all of a sudden I go, oh, I wanted to post this today. I created it, but I haven't gotten to it and I didn't have a chance to schedule it. And no matter where I am, I always have a device, and that device can always access my Google Drive.
Nice. That's really good. And yeah, Darcy made the point. Google Images has unlimited space, so your Drive may not. It's the same thing. Like just
Yes.
saving all of those things. You know, planning the night before relay to have the images you want saved into your phone, but also like giving yourself the checklist of images you want to gather while you're at relay. Back to Carol's point earlier with that man on the street video, you can do all kinds of things all year long with the videos you capture at relay night or at a fundraising event. When people are hyped up, they have a great emotion to what's happening. You know, just thinking about asking people, why do you relay? And just going around and capturing that. It's also a great way to pull in some youth volunteers who, you know, could love to help you build up some of that library, and you're not stuck behind your phone videoing all night long. But just think about lighting, where people are standing, what's in the background, all of that kind of stuff. And by having all those images on your drives, then you're not necessarily filling up your phone with that, you know, so you can capture things and still access old things that you have already captured. So
yeah, and Darcy just commented auto syncing, so that you keep freeing up space on your phone, because your phone only has so much. But if you auto sync, then it gets saved somewhere bigger, which is also very important.
Yeah. You guys are awesome. This is great practical advice. Anything else? Oh, hung with us. Well, we want to just thank you guys for being here tonight. Again, if you want any of this information, leave your email in the chat and we'll make sure send it. It also will get posted. It probably won't go as fast because we are going to try to break it up, but get that out. And then next Monday night, we're going to be doing a training, practical tips for social media account managers. And I'll be honest, we've said some things tonight that are getting added to the notes, especially this last like 5 minutes. There's some really great things I think that folks need to have there. And then in the fall, we'll be doing some future training. If you guys have ideas or think of some more needs, share in the chat box, share in the group. We want to support you guys, and make sure, we know with the time zone thing, it's a little bit different. So make sure if you have friends who need to hear this information that you share the links with them so that they can get on and listen to this, you know, driving or fixing their hair or whatever they're doing to catch up. But we're grateful for what you guys do. You guys are heroes in local communities, because you really are. By managing social media accounts, you are spreading the word of what needs to happen. You're equipping your community to fight cancer in such a greater way. And it's huge. It's huge what you do to help support your community. So thanks to you guys. And if you have anything else last minute, you can put it in the chat box, but we appreciate you. And that is it.
Thanks so much, everyone.